All eyes are now focused on U.S. President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu holding talks as Israel pounded all fronts in its ground offensive. The Israeli military has released a video in which it claims to show Israeli troops conducting operations in southern Lebanon. The Israeli military claims its troops are eliminating Hezbollah group members in close quarters combat and locating underground infrastructure. Hezbollah claims clashes with Israel troops in South Lebanon. The Iran-backed group continues to fire barrages of rockets into Israel a day after carrying out a massive attack on Haifa. The IDF has claimed some 40 rockets have been launched from Lebanon at the Israeli city once again. It claims some of the rockets were intercepted, but several impacts were identified in that area. At least 2 people have been injured by shrapnel in one of the impacts. On Tuesday, Hezbollah fired over 100 rockets at Haifa within an hour. Reports say an impact in Kiryat Bialik has caused power outages. At least 6 people have been injured in a stabbing attack in the Israeli city of Hadera. According to the police, the suspect stabbed people in 4 different locations before fleeing in a bike. The Israeli police say the suspect has been neutralized and has called the incident a terror attack. Biden is expected to hold a phone call with Netanyahu. The duo are likely to discuss Israel's plans to retaliate against Iran for its October 1st ballistic missile attack. The talks come amid reports of growing frustration in Washington over Jerusalem's unwillingness to share details of its intentions. The U.S. has been on the edge, awaiting Israel's response to 200 ballistic missiles launched by Tehran last week. It has been trying to dissuade Israel from mounting a response that it views as disproportionate. But despite its efforts in tempering Israel's approach by urging it to avoid striking oil facilities or nuclear sites, the U.S. has found itself in the dark, with Israel declining to share any details of its plans with its ally. Remember, Netanyahu has warned Lebanon that it could face destruction like Gaza. He called on the Lebanese people to stand up to Hezbollah. David Dunn is a professor of international politics in the Department of Political Science and International Studies at the University of Birmingham. Mr. Dunn is now joining us live from England. Thank you for making time for us and welcome. What could be done, in your opinion, at this moment to avert Lebanon from being turned into Gaza?
Well, what we saw with Netanyahu's address to the people of Lebanon was an attempt to actually get the Lebanese people and various factions to actually rise up against Hezbollah and to remove them from their controlling influence in parts of southern Lebanon. But the difficulty there is that the forces allied against Hezbollah are fairly weak. The government of Lebanon is historically no match for the military might of Hezbollah, and therefore it's difficult for them to do. But what Netanyahu is trying to do is to create an alliance of Israeli firepower and opposition to Hezbollah in Lebanon to try and bring that situation to a conclusion. But it's a tall order. It's much more likely that the war will continue and the attempt by Israel militarily to destroy Hezbollah will be what we see over the next few weeks, even indeed months.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Dunn, President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have recently turned foes. Do you think the anticipated phone call is going to change anything or create some impact, or will be the same rhetoric that has been ongoing for months on end?
There's nothing to suggest that the situation will change. Biden has spent over a year pleading with restraint from Netanyahu, and Netanyahu has more or less done his own thing. And while America is prepared to protect Israel's back, in both in terms of supplying it with military equipment and being there as a backstop if Iran were to attack Israel. In a sense, Netanyahu has got nothing to gain, in his view, by making concessions to the Americans. So what we have is the situation whereby America, by virtue of supporting Israel, is allowing them effectively to do whatever it is they want to do. And what they want to do at the moment is to attack their foes in Gaza and Hamas, and Lebanon, Hezbollah, and they're having military success doing that, and therefore, from their perspective, they're seeing no point in changing that.
Mr. Dunn, finally and very quickly, there are some countries, including France and Britain, who are calling for countries to stop arming Israel. France is saying that it is mulling the idea of stopping arms to Israel. Britain is doing the same. Do you think this will change anything, if at all, the United States does agree to this call to stop arming Israel?
These are symbolic gestures that are more to do with the politics in France and Britain than they are to do with having a material impact on the Middle East. Israel gets most of its weapons from America, and while they continue, Israel will be empowered to carry on the military actions it is currently undertaking.
All right, I've been talking to Mr. David Dunn. He's a professor of international politics in the Department of Political Science and International Studies at the University of Birmingham. Professor, thank you for talking to us today.
Always good to be here.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.